struggling rancher bought a 12-year-old from child labor, and what happened next changed everything. Dust blew in restless gusts across the wide plains of West Texas as John Carter leaned against the splintered fence of his rundown cattle ranch, watching the sun dip behind the low hills. The ranch, his father's legacy, was barely clinging to life. Drought had scorched the earth, debt collectors had grown impatient, and John's once hopeful dreams of restoring the land were fading with every dry wind. He was a good man, honest and hard-working, but the weight of survival was breaking him. Each morning he woke before dawn to patch broken gates, haul feed, and tend to a dwindling herd, wondering if all his sweat and sacrifice were for nothing. Still, he held on, because giving up felt like betrayal, to the land, to his family, to himself. It was on a worn-out trip to town that he saw the boy. 12 years old, maybe younger, the kid had hollow cheeks and a haunted look in his eyes. He stood behind a grimy window at a mechanic's garage, wiping tools with hands too small for the job. His name was Luis. The garage owner, a cruel man known for hiring kids under the table, paid him in scraps and shouted more than he spoke. John didn't know why he stopped. Maybe it was the boy's eyes, tired, too knowing for someone who hadn't even started living. Maybe it was something deeper, a kindred ache he recognized in the slouch of Luis's shoulders. But whatever it was, he walked in and did something that didn't make sense to anyone else, not even to himself. "I need help back on the ranch," John said. "How much for the boy?" The garage owner laughed. "He's not for sale. He owes me." John reached into his back pocket and pulled out a wad of crumpled bills, just over $200, all he had left that month after buying hay. "This enough to cover it?" A grunt. A shrug. "Take him, then." Luis didn't speak a word on the ride back. He clutched a frayed backpack and stared out the truck window like he was afraid to hope. John didn't push him. Instead, he showed him the ranch, a house in need of paint, fences falling apart, and cattle that barely filled a pasture. "It's not much," John said, "but it's honest. And you'll go to school when it starts up again. No arguments." Luis looked at him, uncertain. "You bought me." John kneeled beside him. "I didn't buy you, son. I freed you. But what you do now, that's your choice." The boy stayed. Quiet at first, cautious. But over weeks, his silence softened. He rose early, worked hard, learned quickly. He had a natural feel for the animals, gentle hands, patient eyes. Where John saw burden, Luis saw possibility. One day, while fixing a broken gate together, Luis asked, "Why did you help me?" John thought for a moment. "Because someone should have helped me when I was your age. And because no kid should have to carry a man's weight before he's grown." That night, Luis wrote his first letter in years, to a sister he hadn't seen since being separated in foster care. He told her he was okay. That he found someone who treated him like a person. Like family. The seasons turned, and so did their luck. With Luis's help, the ranch began to change. He had ideas, small innovations that made a big difference. He found an old irrigation pump at a scrapyard, helped John repair it, and brought water to the driest stretch of pasture. They planted vegetables, sold eggs at the local market, and even fixed up an old barn to host weekend tours for schoolchildren curious about farm life. Word spread. Locals who'd written John off as a lost cause began stopping by. They saw the change. Not just in the land, but in John himself. He smiled more, stood taller. Then, in late spring, a wildfire tore across a neighboring county, threatening everything in its path. While others fled, John and Luis loaded water barrels into the truck and drove toward the blaze, helping strangers evacuate livestock, guiding frightened families to safety. They worked through the night, shoulder to shoulder. Their photo, covered in soot but grinning, appeared in the local paper. Rancher and son saved dozens in wildfire rescue. The town saw what John already knew: this boy wasn't just a helper. He was family. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching fireflies dance across the pasture, Luis turned to John. "I want to be like you." John looked at him, eyes shining. "No, Luis. You'll be better than me." That summer, something extraordinary happened. A local non-profit that supported underprivileged youth heard about Luis's story. They visited the ranch, met John and Luis, and decided to feature their journey in a regional campaign. Donations poured in. Enough to pay off John's remaining debts, repair the roof, and build a proper education center on the ranch. Named Hope Hollow. But the most remarkable moment came the day Luis's sister arrived. She stepped out of a bus, now 16 and weary from the system that had kept them apart. Luis ran to her, laughing, crying, all at once. John gave them space but couldn't help watching from a distance. Two souls reunited, not by blood alone, but by love, and the stubborn resilience of hope. Years passed. Luis went on to college, studying agricultural science with a scholarship from the nonprofit that had first believed in him. He came home every break, helped run Hope Hollow, and mentored kids who came from stories like his own. John, older now but no less determined, found new purpose in teaching others what he'd once thought he had to learn alone, that it's never too late to change your story. That broken things can be mended, and broken people can heal. And though the ranch still bore scars, from weather, from time, it thrived. Not just as a place, but as a symbol. Of redemption. Of second chances. Of what happens when one man dares to do something good, not because it's profitable, not because it's easy, but because it's right. John Carter didn't just save a boy from labor. He saved a life. And in doing so, he saved his own. So when people ask how one small act of compassion could change everything, the answer lives in every sunrise over those Texas hills, where a once struggling ranch now blooms with life, laughter, and the echo of footsteps that were once too small, but now walk tall. Because love doesn't count the cost, it multiplies the return. And kindness? It's the seed that turns dry soil into harvest. Every time.